G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to not an MCJ report but rather an MCJ chat. I hope that everybody is doing very well this evening. It is of course Monday the 22nd of August. The clock is ticking, ladies and gentlemen, that's right, the big countdown till November. So what can I say? Roll your sleeves up and get ready for a big fight. I'd like to welcome everybody to the broadcast. I see a lot of you tuning in right now. Welcome and go ahead and share the stream. I'd like to definitely encourage you to get the word out there. We're living in very exciting times right now, aren't we, ladies and gentlemen? Changes in the air. I'm out speaking to a lot of people in the community, and I can tell you that without any shadow of a doubt, Victorians are fed up with the government and they're looking for change. I can see a lot of people joining. There's Sean. Sean, I will address your question because actually the context of your question is not accurate, so I'll address that, don't worry. There's Sharon, there's Lisa, there's Dana, Corey, Natalie, Lauren. It's great to see you guys there. There's Lisa, there's my friend there, Lisa. Wonderful to have you on board. There's Shannon. Angela says, has Avi made it onto a plane for New Zealand? To be honest, I'm not sure. What's Avi getting up to? He's living life at 1,000 miles per hour, of course, and things are going very fast for us over here as well. So you'll have to actually advise me. I'm not too sure what he's up to. Alrighty, guys. So we're gonna have a bit of a general chat this evening. Somebody asked, was it my birthday yesterday? No, actually it wasn't. But you know what? Every day feels like a birthday because I can feel that victory is within arm's reach. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments. This is not a typical MCJ report whereby we smash through a whole bunch of news articles and comment on the news and things like that. Rather, I'm here to connect with you guys, to talk, to answer questions, and that is what we are doing. So I can see that we are connected across 3 platforms right now. We're on Facebook, Rumble, and we are, of course, on YouTube. So I can see all the comments coming through, which is absolutely fantastic. So anyway, I'm going to have a look through here. Janet says that Avi was refused entry to New Zealand. Not sure why that would be. All right, somebody has asked me a question. Morgan, why are you running against David Limbrick? Okay, well, that's a great question. And the answer to that question is that I am not running against David Limbrick. Now, some of you are aware, I have been announced as an upper house candidate for Southeastern Metro. Now, what people need to understand is that the upper house operates very differently from the lower house. In the lower house, we have 88 districts across Victoria. Each district is held by one member of parliament. Throughout Victoria, however, when we're talking about the upper house, there are 8 districts, and each district consists of 5 upper house MPs. That's right. So there's 5 upper house MPs, which means MPs are elected based on a quota. That's right. So ideally, I would very much like to take the seat of a Labor member. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. And that's just as simple as that. Anyway, let's see. What else do we have down here? I can see Natalie there tuning in on YouTube. Shannon says that you had hot dogs for dinner. I'm very glad that you did. Well, hopefully it was tasty. Angela says that Real Rukshan is in New Zealand. What are they doing over there? You see, I'm a little bit out of the loop in the Rukshan and RV world. I've been so focused on what we're doing here in Victoria that I really haven't had much time to check in on my mates, Rukshan and RV, to see what they're up to. Harp says, got to see what you have to do, whether we have to leave other parties. All right, so in order to be a member of a political party, you must not be a member of other parties. That's right. So in order to leave a political party, all you need to do is simply put your intention to leave in an email. That's right. So just send an email over, and you don't need to wait for a reply, because there's a lot of, say, registered political parties out there that do not have an administration team. So likely with a lot of them, you won't actually hear back from them. So just put it in writing and off you go. Sean says that you're banned for 90 days, or shadow ban, only 90 viewers. Well, we can't really control what the Facebook algorithm does or how the distribution works. So you know what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen? We're getting out on the ground, myself, members of the team, of course, Freedom Party of Victoria, and we're speaking to people face to face the good old-fashioned way, because that's what we need to do. Janet says that RV was refused entry into New Zealand. Why is that? Can somebody tell me? Because I actually feel like I'm the last to know. Lauren says that it's your birthday today. Lauren, happy birthday. Can everybody please wish Lauren from Queensland a happy birthday? Rex says, Morgan, you must start ramping things up, mate. We are going as fast as we possibly can. Let's see. Everybody may want to change, including Australia. Yeah, well, if we don't change government this November, then I dare say that we will be facing a scenario whereby potentially a lot of people will want to leave Victoria. We've already had over 100,000 people leave, and I think that is just the very beginning of what is in store. Let's see. Angela says that RV wanted to stream the Wellington Parliament protest, but was denied the flight. I really don't know the details, so I'll have to have a bit of a look at that. And there's Kim. Jess says, Morgan, am I running in Dunkley? That's a great question, Jess. Now, Jess, Dunkley refers to a federal electorate here in Victoria. So for the state election, the electorates, or districts as what they're referred to for the lower house, are defined by different borders. So likely, I'm presuming you live in the Frankston area. That would be the lower house district of Frankston. Now, since I'm running for the upper house in Southeastern Metro, that includes Frankston. So there you go. So likely, I will be contesting in that region. So once again, for every upper house region in Victoria, there are 5 MPs. That's right. For every lower house district, there is only 1 MP. And there's Kim there. Ursula says, when will this start? When will what start? Rex says, will Jacinta Allen be thrown under the bus? What do you mean by that? Who here thinks that there's a possibility that Daniel Andrews will step down before the election and Jacinta Allen will be put in as Premier? What do you think about that? Jess says, take out Labor. Well, that's exactly right. So here's the great thing about Southeastern Metro. You've got 10 out of 11 seats, lower house seats. They're held by Labor. It's a big Labor district, but I tell you what, there's a lot of Conservatives actually in this particular region, and they're looking for an alternative. There's a lot of working class people, and I'm speaking to a lot of people, and they're telling me the same thing, and that is that simply Labor has abandoned the working class base. Labor does not stand for small business, and I'm telling you right now that I think we're at a flashpoint whereby there is a huge deal of negative sentiment towards both Labor and Liberal, and everyday people are going to come out and vote for something different in November. Now, this is not just coming from me speaking to people in the freedom movement. Obviously, in the freedom movement, everybody wants to get rid of the major parties. No, this is me speaking with everyday people that are running businesses, that are just trying to get by in life, people who are struggling to put fuel in their cars, people who are waking up at 5 a.m., going to work all day on a construction site, coming home when the sun's gone down. So I can tell you that what is about to happen is much bigger than I think what many people are anticipating. Let's see, I'm just having a read down here. Angela says you still haven't received your letter from the VEC. All right, that's a good point. So we are submitting our final list for our founding members to the VEC in order to add to our party registration. So tonight is actually the last chance to register as a founding member of Freedom Party of Victoria. So if you'd like to get involved in this great challenge, the link is in the description of this video, and of course we would love to have you. Our primary platforms: jobs, homes, families. I think hands down the three most important pillars of a harmonious society is when we're able to work, keep more of what we earn, get the government off our backs, stop breathing down our necks, and let us live in freedom, right? And also, of course, we need to really crack down on the loss of parental rights in this state. Who here agrees with that? Sean says Catherine Cumming MP. Catherine is a great MP. She is absolutely doing such a wonderful job in Parliament. I had the honour, actually, of going to Parliament last week to witness our friend Catherine Cumming delivering a motion in Parliament calling for a royal commission into the government's response to COVID-19. And she was very bold. Catherine declared that the Victorian government has failed the people. And I commend her for making this bold statement. Now, it was quite a sight to see. I was observing the upper house when Catherine made some of these remarks, and she was a lone warrior standing there all by herself, nobody to her side. Her entire side of Parliament, they'd all walked out the door. On the other side, you had two benches filled with Labor Party members. And as Catherine was delivering her speech and expressing her concern in relation to the huge number of lives that have been destroyed under this incompetent government, the Labor members, they were on their phones, they were snickering, laughing, talking to each other. It was actually one of the most disgusting things that I've ever witnessed in my entire life. And Catherine stood there all alone, standing up for the people. And Catherine, if you're listening, I commend you for it. And so many Victorians I know are grateful for it. Fraser Coast. That sounds like a lovely destination. All right, just reading through some... Someone said, what are we going to do differently in this election? All right, so what we need is a targeted approach. You can't win all the marbles, all right? So you're better off to not spread yourselves too thin. And we need huge amounts of scrutineers in all the polling booths. We need our scrutineers to watch the count just like a hawk watching over the countryside. Lisa Irvine says, good old Dunkley. Well, Lisa, we're now talking about the district of Frankston. And if anybody knows somebody who would be a great candidate for the district of Frankston, then I'd really like to hear from you. freedomparty.net.au. We're looking for somebody strong to run in Frankston. I think Frankston is winnable. So if that's you out there, then hit me up. Also, what I love about the region where I'm running is that there is such a great consolidation of my supporters and people who have encouraged me over the years as well. There's Steve Bickerton. He says only 5. Am I sensing some sarcasm there, my friend? There's Jess. Ray says no chance. Stephanie says you're on a chat and you thought he was denied entry because of his reporting style. I don't know. That sounds a little bit strange to me. That doesn't really add up in my mind. Sean says, sadly, Queensland does not have an upper house. All right, well, here's a little bit of a fun fact for you. Our deputy leader of Freedom Party of Victoria, Aidan McClendon, who's running for the seat of Mulgrave, the man who I believe is going to get rid of Dan in November. Aidan is a former member of the Queensland Parliament, and he actually attempted to introduce legislation to bring the upper house back to the Queensland Parliament. Unfortunately, his proposal was not warmly received by his colleagues, who, for certain reasons, did not like the idea of bringing in a house of review. And I think a house of review is very important, but what's more important than that house of review are the people who sit in the chairs and how they got there, right? We don't like the preference deals for cash. We want people to get there based on their own merit. And it's about time that people who genuinely love this country start filling those seats up. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? All right, just reading down here. Corey says, is my region part of the Glen Waverley district? No, Glen Waverley would be the northeastern region. To my knowledge, I believe that our friend Damien Richardson has put his hand up to run there, so I'm sure that he'll do a really good job. We'll have a candidate there as well. We'll also run a candidate there as well. We'll be running in all 8 regions. Steve says Andrews won't step down. All right. Well, here's another theory. All right. Who here thinks that prior to the election, Dan Andrews may change to contest for a different Labor lower house seat, which is a safer option than Mulgrave? Who thinks that that could be a possibility? Raise your hands. Just reading down here. Reading down. There's Jess. There's Judy. There's Judy B. How you going, Judy? We love it when you're on the broadcast. Steve says that people are getting hit with stupid fines in Frankston. Yeah. Somebody actually added me to a group recently. I think it was in relation to speeding cameras in Frankston. And it appears that a lot of residents are pretty upset about the placement of some of these cameras. It's very unfair. And I think that we can all agree that a lot of the time, these cameras are designed for revenue raising, not actually designed for the purpose of protecting the community. Is that a little bit bold? What do you reckon? Let's see. I'm just reading down here. Maria says Catherine Cumming is doing a great job. She is. And we want her to be re-elected 100%. There's Angela there. Angela, thank you very much. And there's Kim. She's put all the lower house districts. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Andrew says, can I do a live David Icke? Well, I'm certainly very open to it, but I'd have to say after the state election, it takes some time to plan and to get everything. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. All right, looks like we're back now, ladies and gentlemen. Just let me give it a minute. Just make a comment if we're back. Tell me that I'm back, and when I know that I'm back, I'll start speaking. I'm just waiting. I'm not sure if we're actually connected. Jess says the server is down. And apparently we're back. All right, thank you so much. All right, great. So we're back on track. Thank you for bearing with us. We don't have the budget of Sky News or ABC or SBS, so we have to make use of what we have, right? Rex says I got cut out 3 times. 3 times, right? And I still keep coming back. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? All right, awesome stuff. Where were we? All right, now I want to show you something sort of interesting. And I'm going to follow up on this in the coming days. Now, what you'll find is that in the lead up to the cutoff for proposed parties to attempt to register with the VEC, that's the Victorian Electoral Commission, you're likely to see an influx of parties that have obscure sounding names. Okay, there's a few reasons for why that may be. It could be just a genuinely obscure sounding party that's trying to get in last minute. It could be a party that is potentially dealing with the quote preference whisperer Glen jury in order to exchange preferences between other strange obscure parties in order to catapult people into the upper house, like of course Rod Barton, who was elected on 0.6% of the vote and admitted to purchasing that particular preference deal. So I want to show you one that I think looks a little bit strange, and I'm going to look into it more and more because it is absolutely critical that we keep our finger on the pulse and keep tabs on any strange sounding party that is seeking to contest in this election. Alrighty, now let's see. Someone's saying that the sound is not. Someone says that you can't hear what's going on here. All right, I'm going to wait until people tell me that you can hear me until I start speaking again. Let me just have a look here. Any strange sounding party? All right, I think that we're actually live. Maybe it's the trolls trying to get me off my game. You'll have to try a little bit harder. Anyway, so what do we have here? All right, what do we have? Have a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new proposed party that has submitted registration to the VEC. So the name of the party is Restored Democracy, all right, which sounds a little bit like Reignite Democracy, but it is not Reignite Democracy. Restore Democracy, Sack Dan Andrews Party. The name of the proposed registered officer is a Burke Yolku. All right, so I did a bit of a search and I couldn't really find any type of digital footprint on this individual. So as the name of the party would suggest, they want to restore democracy and they want to sack Dan Andrews. And you can see there that they've used an outline of the map of Victoria. And there's also a party that has previously registered with an outline of the map of Victoria, and that, of course, is the Freedom Party of Victoria. So I'm definitely going to take a look into this and try and further understand who this party is. The registered officer, I really couldn't seem to find anything on. And we need to really analyze any party that is putting in a last-minute registration because I need to say, and I'm not accusing this particular party of any wrongdoing, but there are certain parties that are established, and it is quite often that some of these parties are established last minute, simply for the purpose of entering into the election and coming up with a name that could sound compelling to portions of the population, only for the purpose of a practice called vote harvesting. That's right. We covered it on MCJ report. So vote harvesting is essentially defined by harvesting votes via preferences from one side of politics, shifting them to the other side and back and forth. So trading votes, say, between the right and the left. And this is a practice that is used by the, quote, preference whisperer, Glen, who he may say, for instance, get behind a party that sounds like it has a right-wing name. They can be funneled into a network. Those votes could be transferred to the left and vice versa. Now, I am not saying that it is the intention of the Restore Democracy, Sack Dan Andrews party to do this, but I'm just putting the question out there. And that's why I am proclaiming that we are going to keep a very close eye on any party that submits for registration, especially over the next week, because I do expect that there may be some bogus parties out there. Now, just imagine how upset you would be if you voted for a party who you thought was against lockdowns and against all the tyranny of the government, only to find out that your votes were transferred over to, say, the Animal Justice Party or Andy Medic from the Animal Justice Party or something to that effect. You'd be very devastated. You'd be angry, and you'd have every right to be angry because you would have been taken advantage of. Now, the sad reality is that millions of Victorians have been taken advantage of. And once again, I'm not accusing that previous party I mentioned of anything like that. Could be totally legitimate. All I'm saying is that the Victorian voter needs to be aware, needs to be very, very aware, because I can tell you 100%, when it comes to the upper house voting ballot paper, not everything is as it seems in Victoria. There is extraordinary scope for deceitful exploitation of the public. I've called it out on my show. Our Deputy Leader, Aidan McClendon, has called it out, and we will continue to call it out. And we don't care who we offend. And we don't care what side of politics they're from either, ladies and gentlemen. Left, right, middle. Wrong is wrong. and when any member of the public casts their vote above the line, they deserve to cast that vote with the peace of mind knowing that if they don't get their first pick, their preferences will flow down the chain to a party which is of a similar political ideological standard. Does that make sense? Now, I want to show you a little example to illustrate my point. And now, full disclaimer, the example I'm about to show you is in no way a reference to the party that I just mentioned. This is just something interesting to take note of at home. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. Who here knows this party, the Aussie Battler Party? The Aussie Battler Party ran candidates in the 2018 Victoria election. It was a registered party. This right here is an individual wearing an Aussie Battler Party t-shirt. This was published on the Aussie Battler Party Facebook page. As you can see, he is holding a beer. So what impression do you get from the Aussie Battler Party so far, just based on the logo and this image of this gentleman drinking a beer? Looks like a typical sort of Aussie party, right? Pretty Australian thing to do, to hang out at a hotel drinking a beer. And this gentleman right here probably had the best of intentions, and I'm sure that it's, it could be very likely that the people in the party also had the very best of intentions. But I'm going to show you their group voting ticket, which in my opinion tells a different story when put in contrast to the general ideological perception that a name such as Aussie Battler Party carries. I hope this is all making sense, and I hope that you're following. All right, so let's have a look at all their group voting tickets, and this is for the upper house. And we'll keep talking about this. I know it may sound a little bit confusing, especially if you're hearing about group voting tickets, upper house regions for the first time. In summary, when voting above the line on the upper house ticket in Victoria, it is not the voter that chooses their preferences. The preferences are nominated by the party ahead of time. All right. So, for instance, if you in this election vote for Freedom Party of Victoria, the preferences will be chosen by us, and our preferences will be numbered in accordance with other parties that hold a similar political position as do we. All right. So I'm going to show you some group voting tickets here in relation to the Aussie Battler Party, and you can tell me if you think their preferences flowed to other parties that were of a, say, similar sort of political theme to the Aussie Battler Party. All right, so let's start off here with the Eastern Metropolitan Region. We see the Aussie Battler Party gave their second preference to Transport Matters, Rod Barton, who of course went through to get elected. We look to the Eastern Region. Again, the Aussie Battler Party gave their second preference to Transport Matters. And if we look down, we see Sustainable Australia, Hudson for NV, which I think is gone. But look at that, not far below, Fiona Paddon's Reason Party. Okay, now, wouldn't you think that a party called the Aussie Battler Party would be more likely to preference a party, say, like Shooters, Fishers and Farmers ahead of Fiona Paddon's Reason Party? Fiona Paddon's Reason Party, of course, is a very far leftist party. So why has, in this instance, the Aussie Battler Party preferenced Fiona Paddon above Shooters, Fishers and Farmers? In fact, you'd expect Darren Hinch's Justice Party to be above Fiona Paddon. You'd expect the Liberal Democrats to be above as well. So that was the Eastern region. So what do you think? I hope you're following. Put your thoughts in the comments. All right, moving across to Northern Metropolitan. All right, so Aussie Battler Party preferencing the Animal Justice Party number 2. All right, so again, the Animal Justice Party, a very far leftist party with Andy Medic in there. Of course, we know this man is an absolute radical in his political ideologies and what he believes in. Aussie Battler Party putting Animal Justice Party as number 2. The Aussie Battler Party, under the theme that us Aussies, we're battling and let's drink a beer at the pub, doesn't really sound like the type of people who on their own accord would give their second preference to the Animal Justice Party. I could be wrong, all right? I'm just pointing this out and I'm saying, what do you think's going on here at home, ladies and gentlemen? All right, let's move along here to Northern Victoria. All right, Northern Victoria, Aussie Battler Party gave their second to the Liberal Democrats there. Tim Coulty, of course, who was elected in that particular round. And again, in the southeastern metropolitan region, the Aussie Battler Party giving their number 2 to Liberal Democrats. In the southern metropolitan region, Aussie Battler Party gave their number 2 to Sustainable Australia. But look, underneath number 3, Animal Justice Party, and then Australian Liberty Alliance. Moving along here to Western Metro, then they give their number 2 to Shooters, Fishers and Farmers. And then finally in, where are we now? Which region are we? Oh, I think Western, is it? Yeah, Western, the number 2 going to the Darren Hinch's Justice Party. So there's one thing that all of these parties that the Australian Battler Party, the Aussie Battler Party has in common. So all of these preferences, they're all in one way, shape or form involved with Glen Jury. Most of them were paying Glen Jury. Some of them may not have been, but allowed their preferences to be traded like it's a horse race. So what I'm essentially saying is that the people from the Aussie Battler Party, they may have had the best intentions getting involved. They may have been genuinely standing up for Aussie battlers. But when you look at their preference flow, it's fed right into the model of the preference whisperer, Glen Jury, who comes down from Sydney from his private yacht and is able to make a huge amount of money trading preferences, all right, which I think is very unethical, here in our Victorian elections. All right, so I just wanted to demonstrate to you. Now, again, I'm just going to reaffirm, I am not stating that the previous party I mentioned that has submitted for registration is doing this. I'm just saying that it's something that we need to be aware of, ladies and gentlemen. So put your thoughts in the comments. And what do you guys think about that? Let's see. Somebody says supposedly freedom parties are being set up by the left to funnel votes. Well, that is a very strong possibility. We need to actually pay attention to that. Just having a look down. There's Jess J. Well, as far as I'm aware, the Aussie Battler Party will not be contesting for seats this time round. But you need to very much pay attention to who's out there, who's trading preferences with who's exchanging money for votes, and make up your mind. What do you think? Do you think it's ethical? Do you think it's right? I don't think so. Just reading through here. Stephanie says, you can't hear me. I hope you can see me now. There's Dragon there. How are you, my brother? Dragon is a good mate of mine, and I'm happy that you're here. Yeah, so Andy Medic from the Animal Justice Party, if I'm recalling correctly, I believe that he polled less than 3% and was able to get through. All right, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to put in the comments. There's Van Presser there. Ray Zamo says, bogus party. Steven says, if you're registered with RDA, do you have to cancel? No. And that is because RDA is not a political entity. That's right. So you're totally good, Stephen, to go ahead and register as a member of Freedom Party of Victoria. Join our fight. We're happy to have you. The sign-up form is in the description of this video. It's free, it's confidential, and it takes 2 minutes, and we need as many people on the ground as possible to maximize our impact. All right, we've got to teach these people in Parliament a lesson. We need people in Parliament that reflect the spirit of Victorians, okay? Most of the people in Parliament right now, they don't reflect good, decent, hardworking Victorians that are doing it tough. What do they represent? Their own self-interests, their own sick and selfish political ambitions. We've had enough of that garbage, folks. It's time for real Victorians to get involved. Jess says we need a how to vote for dummies. Please lay it out. Thank you, Jess. I'll absolutely do it. I'll do it in an instructional video very soon. And so don't worry, I will guide you guys through the entire process. I'll show you what you need to look out for. And it's really simple. It's just the type of thing whereby if you show on once, then you'll get it and you'll be fine. Rightio. So let me know that we're still connected. I'm not sure if we're actually still there or not. Just let me know. I think that it's pretty bad weather, and sometimes when the weather is bad, it's actually quite difficult to maintain a connection. That's what I've observed. Just having a look on Rumble right now. I can see some of you tuned in on Rumble, so it's great that you're here. Let me see. Who do we have? There's Danny. There's Macro. Alt News Reports is back. Alt standing for alternative, something like that. Sean says, wasn't Topher's video taken down by the AEC? I'm not aware that it was. I think you're referring to the Marble video. That was in relation to Senate voting. So voting in the Victorian upper house does work differently. So it definitely would be great to see a new and revised video for the Victorian upper house. Somebody asked me before, Morgan, why are you running against David Limbrick? And the answer to that question is, I am not. There are 8 upper house regions in Victoria. Every region is comprised by 5 MPs, whereas every lower house region is comprised of 1 MP, all right? So there's 5 in a region, and I say that there are multiple seats up for grabs, and that's how it works. Jess says Aussie broadband. Yeah, I mean, for a first world nation, I think our internet is pretty pathetic. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Who here remembers the failed Malcolm Turnbull move towards the national broadband network? What an absolute failure that was. Who here remembers that? What a kerfuffle. How much money was lost during that? And there's Soundtracker Official. How you going? It's great to see you. There's OK Cho talking about fraudulent behavior by NDIS recipients. Now, by NDIS recipients, I'm presuming you're talking about the service providers, not the recipients who have special needs or anything like that. But I tell you what, everywhere I go, I'm always speaking to people who have major concerns about NDIS funding, about the service providers, about contracts that are overpriced, and of course, vulnerable members of our society who are unable to access services that they desperately need. I receive a lot of messages about it. It appears to me that the NDIS and the NDIA need to have a very serious review board implemented to crack down on any type of, cost blowouts, contracts that are way beyond the price of which one would expect, and other potentially bad practices, or should I say practices that result in a lack of efficient services for those who need it the most, if that makes sense. Pete says, I wish I still had cable. Yeah, how good was cable internet? Can somebody please enlighten me? Why did we get rid of cable internet? A book was written for how to vote for dummies. Calm down, Karen, says Jess. Well, I don't know about the book, but I tell you what, you will find educational material. There's Harps there. How you going? Great to see you. Spoke to you today. Voting for dummies could be a bestseller. Well, I tell you what, we need it in Victoria because Victoria allows the exchange of preference deals for cash. It really opens such a wide door for exploitation of the public because we have the group voting ticket system whereby preferences are chosen by parties, not by voters. And I don't think the group voting ticket is necessarily a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing in itself, but it's the scope for exploitation. So I would say, rather than banning the group voting ticket system, we need to ban the business of preferences for cash. That's right. And we submitted an e-petition to Parliament. So myself and the team, what we're proposing is for this practice a penalty of $400,000 or 12 months imprisonment. Kim says it's great the way that I'm exposing this. Well, guys, I'm just here to do what I've done since I started MCJ Report, and that's to tell the truth, even if it upsets people. I don't care if it's from one side of the political fence, the other side, it really doesn't matter. Wrong is wrong, and my ethos, which is shared by all members of Freedom Party of Victoria, and especially our candidates, is that either we get elected to Parliament honourably, telling the truth, and never exploiting the public, or we don't get elected at all, right? We either do it in a way that will make the community proud, or if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. But we do it without lying. We keep our integrity. Because what I say is that if a candidate is willing to compromise or trade their integrity during the campaign, then what are they willing to do should they be elected to Parliament? That's why you got to do it the right way. And either we do it the right way and we win, or we don't. Who here understands that logic? If you do, say aye. Thanks, Jess. Also, I'm speaking, by the way, for anyone out in the western suburbs. I'm speaking at the Water Gardens Hotel on Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. So if you're around, then write it in your diary. In fact, I'll put a post out on my Facebook tomorrow for anyone who's interested in joining. Kerry says, is Daniel Andrews going to stand down? It's possible. He's very unpopular. I've been speaking to a lot of people in the Mulgrave district, and I'm really struggling to find anyone that actually likes him. I'm speaking to business owners, people on the street. They're telling me the same thing. They don't like him. They're sick of Labor. They're sick of the agendas in schools. They thought the lockdowns were cruel and unnecessary. And the people of his electorate, they're ready to vote him out. And we have a great number of ex-Labor supporters coming over to Freedom Party of Victoria. And I think this is because one of our key platforms is jobs, of course, jobs, homes, families, but we're standing up for workers. We're standing up for small business. We consider that small business is overly regulated and the government has too greater of a capability to intervene in business operations. And this is resonating with the people. This is what Labor claims to stand for, but they don't. So the Liberal Party, on the other hand, base their platform around the notion of personal liberty and personal responsibility, and one's, I suppose, right to live independently of the government. But I'm speaking to people and they're considering the Liberal Party has abandoned those values as well. So I say, well, Freedom Party of Victoria, we are the alternative to the two-party system. We are the alternative in Victoria. So once again, I encourage you to join us because we have tremendous momentum. The sign-up form is in the link in the description. It's free, takes 2 minutes, and it's confidential. And there's Darren there making some remarks about Matthew Guy. Well, the funny thing is, I've been contacted by many members of the Liberal Party who are feeling very let down, who are on the verge of leaving. They're like, oh, I've been in the Liberal Party for a long time. But we have members coming over to us from both Liberal and Labor, and I have heard a lot of concerns expressed about Matthew Guy. All right, anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap it up for this evening. I'd like to thank everybody who tuned in. It really means a lot that you would choose to do this on your Monday evening, to get on board and to speak with me and to have patience when the broadcast is disrupted. So stay strong. Keep an eye on my social media. Keep an eye on the emails because there are many events. In fact, this weekend we're going to be announcing our candidate for the Eastern region. That's right. We're getting right in there. Mornington Peninsula, Pakenham, Gippsland. We're coming, folks, and the momentum cannot be stopped. All right. In the meantime, have a lovely evening, and thank you for spending some time with me.